Captain Paul Bryant knew the brutal truth. Going to war with humans was an agonizing nightmare that only ended in oceans of blood and mountains of regret for their alien foes. The seasoned UEF Special Forces operative sat stone-faced, absorbing the dire emergency briefing in the UEF headquarters on Earth. Colonel James Thompson's normally gruff voice wavered ever so slightly as he outlined the ruthless, unprovoked attack by the reptilian Tzenkethi Empire on the UEF research station orbiting Proxima Centauri b. All 150 personnel mercilessly slaughtered. The Tzenkethi battlecruiser TZS Antares now possessed the station's cutting-edge, faster-than-light drive research. But the UEF refused to let those human deaths be in vain. Captain Bryant, you're our best shot. We need you to infiltrate the Antares, uncover their motives, and destroy that ship if you must. We cannot allow our FTL secrets to fall into Tzenkethi claws, Colonel Thompson declared, his steely eyes boring into Bryant's. If we fail, it means full-scale war with the Tzenkethi. Millions more human lives hang in the balance. At age 35, Bryant's muscular physique, buzz-cut brown hair, and piercing blue eyes had already witnessed countless battles across the stars. But this covert mission would test every ounce of his unorthodox genius and legendary adaptability. The Tzenkethi's advanced stealth tech rendered them frustratingly elusive adversaries, and Bryant knew deep in his battle-hardened bones that if he failed this mission, humanity's very future would be devoured by the unrelenting Tzenkethi Empire. Earth would burn, and no human would be spared. No matter the odds, Bryant would not let that dark future come to pass. He clenched his fists with iron determination as he nodded curtly to his superior. "I'll get it done, sir. No matter what it takes, the Tzenkethi will regret starting this war." Bryant strode into the UEF Special Forces armory, his boots clicking on the polished metal floor. 4 soldiers snapped to attention as he entered: Lieutenant Jack Ripper Evans, Sergeant Mark Ghost Simmons, Corporal Alex Doc Novak, and Private First Class Daniel Rook Kim. Bryant had handpicked this elite team for their unique skills. Evans was a close-quarters combat specialist, Simmons an expert marksman and infiltrator, Novak the team's medic and tech wizard, and Kim a demolitions prodigy. "At ease," Bryant said, his voice carrying the weight of command. "We have a critical mission. The Tzenkethi have attacked our research station and stolen our FTL drive technology. We're going to infiltrate their battle cruiser, the Antares, retrieve our research, and sabotage their ship." The team exchanged glances, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Bryant continued, "We'll be equipped with the latest Marquis 8 infiltrator armor, featuring advanced active camouflage and enhanced sensors. Stealth and precision are paramount." He brought up a holographic schematic of the Antares. "We'll infiltrate using a captured Tzenkethi shuttle, modified with our stealth tech. Once aboard, we split into 2 teams. Ripper, you're with me. We'll secure the command center and the FTL research. Ghost, you'll lead Doc and Rook to sabotage their weapons and propulsion systems." The soldiers nodded, absorbing their roles. As they geared up, an encrypted message pinged Bryant's comm. He frowned as he read it, his brow furrowing. An unknown informant claimed to have critical intel on the Tzenkethi's plans, wanting to meet on Nyx, a remote planet crawling with criminals and smugglers. Bryant's instincts screamed trap, but any edge against the Tzenkethi could save human lives. He made the call. "Change of plans. We're making a stop on Nyx to meet an informant before hitting the Antares. Could be vital intel." He informed Colonel Thompson, then turned to his team. "Stay sharp, the Tzenkethi may already be 1 step ahead of us. Let's move out." The team boarded their stealth shuttle, the thrum of the engines filling the air as they launched into the star-speckled void of space. Bryant's eyes narrowed as he plotted the course to Nyx. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading straight into the Serpent's Den. The UEF Special Forces shuttle touched down on Nyx, in a secluded landing pad on the outskirts of Shadowport. Bryant led his team through the winding, trash-strewn streets of the city's seedy underbelly. Flickering neon signs cast an eerie glow on the cracked pavement as they followed the informant's cryptic instructions to a dimly lit alley deep in the heart of the notorious red-light district. As they approached the designated meeting spot, Bryant's battle-honed instincts screamed danger. He held up a fist, signaling his team to halt. "Something's not right," he muttered, his eyes scanning the shadows. "Weapons ready." Suddenly all hell broke loose. A hail of blaster fire erupted from the darkness as a dozen heavily armed Tzenkethi mercenaries materialized from hidden alcoves. Leading the ambush was a hulking, scarred brute of a Tzenkethi, his scales glistening in the neon light. "Kravax," Bryant growled, recognizing the notorious mercenary leader. "Take cover," Bryant bellowed, as his team scrambled for whatever scant protection the alley offered. Blaster bolts sizzled through the air, slamming into walls and ricocheting off dumpsters. The UEF soldiers returned fire, their Mark 8 armors enhanced sensors and targeting systems giving them a critical edge. But the mercenaries were well equipped and had the element of surprise. A searing bolt caught Evans in the chest, spinning him to the ground. "Man down!" Novak shouted, rushing to the fallen lieutenant's side. He dragged Evans behind a dumpster, frantically working to stabilize him, while laying down covering fire with his free hand. Bryant locked eyes with Kravax across the alley, a silent challenge passing between them. The mercenary leader bared his fangs in a predatory grin, then charged, firing his blaster wildly. Bryant dodged and rolled, closing the distance in a heartbeat. He launched himself at Kravax, slamming a devastating Krav Maga strike into the Tzenkethi's throat. Kravax staggered back, choking and gasping, but he was a veteran brawler and quickly recovered. He lashed out with his claws, raking bloody furrows across Bryant's armor. The two titans clashed in a brutal dance of strikes, blocks and throws as the firefight raged around them. Bryant could feel his armor's system straining, warning indicators flashing in his HUD. But he pushed harder, faster, drawing on every ounce of his training and experience. He feinted left, then pivoted right, catching Kravax off balance. A lightning-fast strike to the temple, a bone-crunching kick to the knee, and the mercenary leader crumpled. Bryant pounced, pinning Kravax to the ground. "Who sent you?" he snarled, pressing his blaster to the Tzenkethi's skull. Kravax laughed, a wet, gurgling sound. You've been betrayed, human," he rasped. "Commander Zaran, he's working with your own people, traitors in the UEF. They want war." Bryant's blood ran cold. Traitors in the UEF, working with the Tzenkethi to start a war. He needed answers. But before he could demand more, Kravax shuddered and went limp, his life slipping away. The firefight was over, the last mercenaries dispatched by Simmons and Kim's deadly accuracy. But the cost had been high. Evans lay unmoving, his armor scorched and shattered. Novak looked up at Bryant, his face grim. "He's stable, but in bad shape. He needs proper medical attention, fast." Bryant clenched his jaw, his mind racing. They couldn't abort the mission, not with so much at stake. But he couldn't risk Evans' life either. He made the call. "Novak, take Evans back to the shuttle. Get him to the nearest UEF medical facility." He turned to Simmons and Kim. "We'll proceed with the mission. The three of us will infiltrate the Antares." As Novak helped a semi-conscious Evans to his feet, Bryant pulled out his encrypted comm unit. "Colonel Thompson, we were ambushed on Nix. The informant was a setup, but we learned something critical. There's a traitor in the UEF, working with the Tzenkethi. Commander Zaran, he's trying to start a war." There was a long pause. Then Thompson's voice crackled over the comm, tight with controlled anger. "Understood, Captain. Proceed with the mission as planned. But watch your back. There's no telling how deep this conspiracy goes." Bryant signed off, his face set with grim determination. He turned to Simmons and Kim. "You heard the man. Let's get to the Antares. We've got a war to stop." As the battered UEF soldiers boarded their shuttle once more, Bryant couldn't shake the sense that they were heading into the heart of a web of lies and betrayal. But he pushed the thought aside. They had a job to do. And come hell or high water, they would see it through. The captured Tzenkethi shuttle drifted through space, its hull pockmarked with scars from countless battles. Inside, Bryant, Simmons and Kim sat in tense silence, their faces lit by the eerie glow of the control panels. As the shuttle approached the looming hulk of the Antares, Bryant's fingers flew over the keypad, transmitting the stolen access codes. A tense moment passed. Then the shuttle jolted as the Antares docking clamps locked on, pulling them into the battlecruiser's cavernous hangar bay. Bryant turned to his team, his face grim. Remember, stealth is key. Simmons, Kim, head to engineering. Disable their propulsion and weapon systems. I'll secure the command center and retrieve the FTL drive research. Simmons and Kim nodded, checking their weapons one final time. The shuttle's hatch hissed open, and the trio slipped out, melting into the shadows of the hangar. Bryant moved swiftly down the dimly lit corridors of the Antares, his Mark 8 armor's active camouflage rendering him nearly invisible. His HUD displayed a schematic of the ship, guiding him towards the command center. Suddenly he froze. Footsteps echoed ahead, drawing closer. Bryant pressed himself against the wall, his hand hovering over his blaster. A young Tzenkethi technician rounded the corner, his eyes widening in surprise as he spotted Bryant. The captain reacted instantly, his hand darting out to grab the technician by the throat. But something stayed his hand. The technician was young, his scales still bearing the vibrant colors of youth. Bryant's mind raced, recalling his years of studying Tzenkethi culture and language. He made a split-second decision. Kretzal Torvak, Bryant hissed in Tzenkethi, his accent flawless. I come in peace. The technician stared at him, shock giving way to confusion. You speak our tongue? I do, Bryant replied. Listen to me, I know you don't want this war, I can see it in your eyes. Help me stop it and we can end this bloodshed. The technician hesitated, then nodded slowly. I am Talon, I will help you, but we must hurry. Commander Zaren's madness will doom us all. Bryant released Talon, a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. Together they raced towards the command center. In the bowels of the ship, Simmons and Kim crept through the engineering section, planting explosive charges at critical junctures. The hum of the Antares engines thrummed through the deck plates, a constant reminder of the ship's deadly power. As Simmons placed the final charge, voices drifted from a nearby alcove. He froze, motioning for Kim to take cover. Two Tzenkethi engineers huddled over a glowing datapad, their voices low and urgent. All Project Erebus is nearly complete. Once we have the FTL drive research... Hush. Do you want Zaren to hear you? He'll have our hides if he knows we're behind schedule. Simmons and Kim exchanged a glance. Project Erebus? What were the Tzenkethi planning? Before they could move closer to investigate, a shout rang out behind them. Intruders, sound the alarm. And a Tzenkethi security patrol charged towards them, blasters drawn. Simmons and Kim sprang into action, their own weapons spitting plasma bolts as they dove for cover. The engineering section erupted into chaos, consoles exploding and sparks cascading from ruptured conduits. Simmons and Kim fought like demons, their Mark 8 armor absorbing the brunt of the Tzenkethi fire, but more security forces poured in with each passing second. They were badly outnumbered. Kim, activate the charges, Simmons shouted over the din of battle. We've got to get out of here. Kim nodded, his fingers flying over the detonator. The charges beeped in unison, their timers counting down. Simmons and Kim burst from cover, sprinting for the exit as the Tzenkethi patrol closed in behind them. On the bridge of the Antares, Commander Zaren loomed over the command console, his eyes blazing with barely contained fury. Bryant and Talon burst through the doors, blasters drawn. Zaren spun to face them, his lip curling in a sneer. Well, the famous Captain Bryant. Come to steal back your precious research. Bryant leveled his blaster at Zaren's head. It's over, Zaren. Surrender now and we can end this without further bloodshed. Zaren laughed, a harsh grating sound. Surrender to you? I think not, human. You have no idea what you've stumbled into. The Tzenkethi commander tapped a button on the console, and a holographic display flickered to life. Bryant's eyes widened in horror as he saw the schematic rotating before him. Behold the future of the Tzenkethi Empire, Zaren gloated. With your FTL drive technology, we will launch a surprise attack on Earth itself. The UEF will crumble, and the galaxy will be ours for the taking. Bryant's finger tightened on the trigger. "You're insane, Zaran. We won't let you do this." Zaran's hand darted for his own weapon, but Talon was faster. The young technician's blaster spat a searing bolt of plasma, catching Zaran in the chest. The commander staggered, his eyes wide with shock and pain. But Zaran wasn't finished yet. With a roar of fury, he lunged at Bryant, his claws slashing for the human's throat. Bryant dodged, his armor barely deflecting the blow. He struck back, a devastating punch to Zaran's jaw, sending the Tzenkethi reeling. The bridge descended into chaos, Tzenkethi officers drawing their weapons as Bryant and Talon fought for their lives. Consoles shattered under the hail of blaster fire, sparks cascading from the damaged equipment. "Captain, we have to go," Talon shouted, his blaster taking down a Tzenkethi officer. "I know a shortcut to the hangar bay." Bryant nodded, scooping up the FTL drive research from the command console. He and Talon sprinted from the bridge, alarms blaring in their wake. Talon led the way, his knowledge of the ship's layout proving invaluable as they navigated the labyrinthine corridors. As blaster fire scorched the corridors of the Antares, Bryant and Talon sprinted through the labyrinthine passageways, their hearts pounding in their chests. The Mark Fate armor's active camouflage shimmered and pulsed, bending the light around them as they raced towards the rendezvous point. Simmons and Kim emerged from the shadows, their faces grim but triumphant. "Charges set," Simmons reported, his voice tight with tension. "This ship's not going anywhere." Bryant nodded, his eyes scanning the corridor ahead. "Good work, let's get to the hangar bay and—" A thunderous boom shook the deck plates beneath their feet. The team whirled, weapons raised as a massive figure stepped from the billowing smoke. It was a Tzenkethi warrior, clad in heavy, ornate armor that crackled with energy. In its clawed hands it hefted a massive plasma hammer, the head glowing with barely contained fury. "Deathbringer," Talon hissed, his eyes wide with fear. "Zaran's personal guard." The Deathbringer roared, its voice a guttural alien challenge. It charged, the plasma hammer swinging in a brutal arc. Bryant and his team scattered, blaster bolts pinging off the warrior's advanced energy shielding. Kim rolled to his feet, his face set with determination. He primed a demolition charge, the device beeping ominously in his hand. With a grunt, he hurled it at the Deathbringer's feet. The charge detonated, engulfing the warrior in a blinding flash of light and heat. But the Deathbringer emerged unscathed, its armor blackened but intact. It lashed out with the plasma hammer, the weapon's head slamming into the deck plates with bone-crushing force. Bryant and Simmons dove for cover, the superheated air searing their lungs. "Hit it with everything you've got," Bryant shouted, his blaster spitting plasma at the Deathbringer's head. Simmons and Talon joined in, their weapons chattering as they poured fire into the warrior's armor. The Deathbringer staggered, its shields flickering under the onslaught. Kim darted forward, a breaching charge clutched in his fist. With a desperate lunge, he slapped the charge onto the warrior's chest plate and dove clear. The charge detonated, the explosion ripping through the Deathbringer's armor. The warrior roared in pain and fury, its hammer swinging wildly. Bryant saw his chance. He primed a prototype EMP grenade and hurled it at the Deathbringer's feet. The grenade burst in a blaze of crackling energy, the electromagnetic pulse washing over the warrior's armor. The Deathbringer convulsed, its armor systems overloading and shorting out. It staggered, its movements jerky and uncoordinated. "Now," Bryant bellowed. Simmons raised his high-powered sniper rifle, the weapon humming with barely contained power. He sighted down the scope, his breathing slow and steady. The rifle kicked against his shoulder, a lance of searing light streaking from the barrel. The shot punched through the Deathbringer's weakened armor, slamming into its chest. The warrior toppled, its hammer clattering to the deck. It twitched once, twice, then lay still. Bryant and his team raced past the fallen warrior, their hearts hammering in their chests. The hangar bay loomed ahead, the captured Tzenkethi shuttle waiting for them like a gleaming beacon of hope. But as they burst into the cavernous space, they skidded to a halt, their blood running cold. Commander Zaran stood before them, his eyes blazing with hatred. He was clad in an advanced combat exoskeleton, the armor's plating shimmering with an eerie, pulsing light. Behind him, a contingent of elite Tzenkethi soldiers leveled their weapons, their fingers hovering over the triggers. "Did you really think it would be that easy, Bryant?" Zarin sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "The FTL drive technology is just the beginning. With it, we will spread across the galaxy like a plague, subjugating all who stand in our way. And Earth will burn." Bryant stepped forward, his fists clenched at his sides. "Not on my watch, Zarin." The Tzenkethi commander laughed, the sound harsh and grating. "You cannot stop the inevitable, human. The Tzenkethi Empire will rise, and your pitiful species will be ground beneath our heel." With a roar of fury, Zarin charged, his combat exoskeleton propelling him forward with blinding speed. Bryant met him head-on, his Mark 8 armor absorbing the impact. They clashed in a flurry of blows, their armored fists slamming into each other with bone-jarring force. Behind them, Talon, Simmons, and Kim engaged the Tzenkethi soldiers, blaster bolts filling the air. Talon ducked and weaved, his intimate knowledge of Tzenkethi tactics giving him an edge. Simmons picked off soldiers with surgical precision, his sniper rifle barking with each shot. Kim lobbed grenades into the fray, the explosions scattering the Tzenkethi like leaves in a storm. But Bryant barely registered the chaos around him. His world had narrowed to Zarin, to the clash of armored fists and the snarl of alien hatred. They traded blows with lightning speed, their armor sparking and denting under the onslaught. Bryant slammed into Zarin with a bone-crunching tackle, smashing the Tzenkethi commander into the deck. Zarin snarled, his tail lashing out to sweep Bryant's legs. The human leapt over the tail, coming down with an armored elbow to Zarin's face. Green blood sprayed as Zarin's snout crunched. Zarin roared, heaving Bryant off him. The two circled, feinting and jabbing, looking for an opening. Bryant's HUD flashed warnings as Zarin's punishing blows dented his armor. The Tzenkethi was fast, far faster than anything that big had a right to be. Talon leapt onto a Tzenkethi soldier's back, jamming his blaster under the soldier's chin and firing. The soldier went limp, and Talon rolled clear, coming up in a crouch to snap off shots at the remaining Tzenkethi. Simmons and Kim pressed the attack, the hangar bay echoing with the crack of blasters and the screams of the dying. Bryant ducked a vicious swipe from Zarin, the Tzenkethi's claws skittering off his helmet. He lunged inside Zarin's guard, hammering short, brutal punches into the Tzenkethi's body. Something cracked under his fists, and Zarin staggered back. "It's over, Zarin," Bryant shouted, pressing his advantage. "Never," Zarin spat, green blood flecking his teeth. "The Tzenkethi will rule this galaxy, and your pathetic species will be nothing but a memory." With a bellow of rage, Zarin charged, his claws extended. Time seemed to slow as Bryant watched the massive Tzenkethi bear down on him. At the last second, Bryant twisted aside, grabbing Zarin's arm and using the Tzenkethi's own momentum to hurl him off balance. Zarin stumbled and Bryant pounced, locking his arm around the Tzenkethi's throat. Zarin thrashed and bucked, but Bryant held on, servo motors whining in his armor as he squeezed. Zarin's struggles grew weaker, his eyes bulging. With a final spasmodic twitch, the Tzenkethi commander went limp. Bryant released him, stepping back as Zarin's body slumped to the deck. Around him the last of the Tzenkethi soldiers fell, cut down by the deadly accuracy of Simmons, Kim, and Talon. "Captain, charges are set," Simmons reported, his voice tense. "We need to move." Bryant nodded, his chest heaving. "To the shuttle, now." They ran, pounding across the hangar bay, and up the ramp of the captured Tzenkethi shuttle. Kim slid into the pilot's seat, his fingers flying over the controls. The shuttle lifted off, thrusters roaring as it hurtled out of the hangar bay and into the star-strewn void. Behind them, the Antares shuddered, secondary explosions rippling across its hull as Simmons and Kim's charges detonated. The once mighty battle cruiser listed, trailing debris and venting atmosphere. Bryant watched it shrink on the view screen, a grim smile on his lips. "Damn fine work, team," he said, clasping each of them on the shoulder. "Damn fine work." Talon stepped forward, his eyes gleaming. "Captain, I want to join you. I want to fight for the UEF to stop my people from making a terrible mistake. Bryant nodded, gripping Talon's hand. Welcome aboard, Talon. We're going to need all the help we can get. As the shuttle streaked away from the crippled Antares, Bryant's comm crackled to life. Colonel Thompson's face filled the screen, his expression grave. Captain, we have a situation, Thompson said, his voice tight. Our intelligence has uncovered a massive Tsenkethi invasion force poised to strike at key UEF colonies. The stolen FTL drive technology was just the beginning. Bryant frowned, leaning forward. What's our play, sir? Rendezvous with the UEF carrier group in the Arcadia system, Thompson ordered. You'll be joining a task force assembled to counter the Tsenkethi threat. I'm sending coordinates now. The screen went blank and Bryant turned to his team. You heard the man. Kim, set course for Arcadia. We're not done yet. As the shuttle hurtled through the void, Bryant and his team gathered around the recovered FTL drive research, poring over the schematics and equations. Talon, his brow furrowed, traced a claw over the intricate diagrams. This is incomplete, he said, his voice low. The Tsenkethi were planning to acquire additional components from a secret UEF research facility known as Project Prometheus. Bryant's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. Project Prometheus, I've never heard of it. Few have, Talon replied. But if the Tsenkethi know of it, then the traitor within the UEF must be connected to it somehow. Bryant nodded, his mind racing. And if the Tsenkethi get their claws on those components, they'll have a devastating advantage in the coming war, Talon finished grimly. The shuttle dropped out of warp, the massive bulk of the UES Titan filling the view screen. Bryant let out a low whistle as they approached the flagship carrier, its hull bristling with weaponry. That's a lot of firepower, Kim muttered from the pilot's seat. We're going to need it, Bryant said, his expression hardening. As the shuttle settled into the Titan's hangar bay, Bryant and his team disembarked, met by a statuesque woman in a crisp UEF uniform. Her raven hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her sharp, intelligent eyes appraised them coolly. Captain Bryant, I'm Admiral Elena Ivanova, she said, her voice clipped and precise. Welcome to the Titan. Bryant shook her hand, feeling the strength in her grip. Admiral, I have crucial information about the Tsenkethi's plans. We need to act fast. Ivanova nodded, gesturing for them to follow her. Walk with me, Captain. Tell me everything. As they strode through the Titan's gleaming corridors, Bryant laid out what they had discovered about Project Prometheus and the traitor within the UEF. Ivanova's face grew darker with each revelation, her jaw clenching. This is deeply troubling, she said, as they entered a spacious briefing room. If the Tsenkethi acquire those components, it could tip the balance of the war in their favor. She turned to face Bryant, her gaze intense. Captain, I'm authorizing you to lead a covert mission to Project Prometheus. Secure the FTL drive components and uncover the identity of the traitor. Whatever resources you need, you'll have them. Bryant nodded, his resolve hardening. Understood, Admiral. We won't let you down. As they prepared for the mission, a young woman with fiery red hair strode into the briefing room, her flight suit hugging her athletic frame. Bryant's eyes widened in recognition. Sophia? He asked, his voice soft. Lieutenant Sophia Novak, her green eyes blazing with determination, snapped a crisp salute. Captain Bryant, I heard about the mission. I'm volunteering to join your team to provide air support. Bryant hesitated, memories of her brother's sacrifice still raw, but the steel in Sophia's gaze brooked no argument. I need to do this, Captain, she said, her voice unwavering. For Alex, for the UEF, let me help. Bryant nodded slowly, clasping her shoulder. Welcome to the team, Lieutenant. We're glad to have you. As they gathered around the briefing table, Bryant's eyes swept over his assembled team. Simmons, Kim, Talon, and now Sophia, each of them driven by duty, by a desire to protect humanity from the Tsenkethi threat. All right, people, Bryant said, his voice ringing with authority. Let's go over the plan. We've got a research facility to infiltrate and a traitor to unmask. Failure is not an option. The Titan's hangar bay hummed with activity as Bryant's team prepared for departure. Engineers swarmed over a sleek black transport shuttle, prepping it for the covert insertion. Sophia stood beside a state-of-the-art UEF fighter, her helmet tucked under her arm. She ran a hand along the fighter's fuselage, her touch almost reverent. "She's a beauty, isn't she?" Sophia asked as Bryant approached. "The F-371 Raptor, fastest thing in the UEF arsenal." Bryant nodded, admiring the fighter's sleek lines. "You sure you're up for this, Lieutenant? It's going to be dangerous." Sophia met his gaze, her eyes fierce. "I was born ready, Captain. Let's go nail those Tsenkethi bastards." Bryant chuckled, shaking his head. "All right, Novak, mount up. We'll see you on the other side." As Sophia climbed into her fighter, Bryant turned to his team, now clad in matte black stealth armor. Simmons hefted a long-barreled sniper rifle, while Kim adjusted a bandolier of explosive charges. Talon stood tall, a sleek UEF blaster rifle cradled in his arms. "This is it, people," Bryant said, his voice low and intense. "We get in, we get the components, we get out, watch each other's backs in there." The team nodded, their faces grim with determination. They boarded the transport shuttle, strapping into their seats as the pilot initiated the launch sequence. With a roar of engines, the shuttle and Sophia's fighter lifted off, streaking out of the Titan's hangar bay and into the starry void. Ahead lay Project Prometheus, and the secret at the heart of the UEF's darkest hour. Bryant leaned back in his seat, his mind whirling with strategies and contingencies. They were heading into the unknown, facing an enemy that had already proven cunning and ruthless. But as he looked around at his team, at the determination etched on their faces, Bryant felt a surge of pride and resolve. They were the best of the best, a band of brothers and sisters forged in the heat of battle. Come hell or high water, they would see this through. For the UEF, for humanity, for each other. The stolen Tsenkethi stealth ship glided silently through the void, its matte black hull blending seamlessly with the inky darkness of space. Inside the cramped cockpit, Lieutenant Sophia Novak's hands danced across the alien controls, guiding the ship towards the hidden UEF research facility housing Project Prometheus. In the cargo hold, Captain Bryant, Simmons, Kim and Talon checked their weapons and armor, preparing for the infiltration. The air crackled with tension as they approached their target, the weight of their mission hanging heavy on their shoulders. Sophia's voice crackled over the intercom, approaching the facility, engaging stealth systems. The ship shimmered and vanished from view as it slipped past the facility's advanced sensor systems. Sophia guided the craft into a secluded docking bay, the team moving with practiced efficiency as they disembarked. Bryant led the way, his Mark 8 armor a sleek black shadow in the dimly lit corridors. But as they pushed deeper into the facility, the sound of gunfire and screams echoed through the halls. "The Tsenkethi are already here," Bryant growled, his grip tightening on his blaster rifle. They rounded a corner and found themselves face to face with a squad of Tsenkethi special forces, their black armor adorned with blood-red markings. The Shadow Blades. Blaster fire erupted from both sides, the air sizzling with the smell of ozone. Simmons dropped to one knee, his sniper rifle cracking as he picked off Tsenkethi soldiers with surgical precision. Kim and Talon laid down suppressing fire, their weapons chattering as they advanced. In the midst of the chaos, a hulking figure emerged from the shadows. Zekrath, leader of the Shadow Blades, his armor a twisted mass of spikes and blades. He lunged at Bryant, a wicked-looking sword flashing in his clawed hands. Bryant met him head-on, his own vibroblade sparking to life. They clashed in a whirlwind of steel and sparks, their movements a blur of speed and power. "You fight well, human," Zekrath snarled, his reptilian eyes glinting with malice. "But you are too late. Your precious Admiral Ivanova has betrayed you." Bryant's eyes widened in shock, his blade faltering for a split second. Zekrath pressed his advantage, driving Bryant back with a flurry of blows. "Ivanova is working with us," Zekrath hissed, his voice dripping with contempt. "She believes an alliance with the Tsenkethi is the only way to ensure humanity's survival. She has been orchestrating this war from the beginning. Bryant's mind reeled, the revelation hitting him like a physical blow. But he pushed aside the shock and betrayal, focusing on the fight at hand. He feinted left, then spun right, his blade slipping past Zekrath's guard and finding the weak point in his armor. The Tzenkethi warrior stumbled back, a gash of green blood seeping from his side. Bryant pressed his attack, his blade a blur of motion. With a final, desperate lunge, he drove his vibro blade through Zekrath's chest, the Tzenkethi's eyes going wide with shock and pain. As Zekrath slumped to the ground, Bryant turned to his team, his face grim. "We have to get those FTL components and stop Ivanova." They pushed deeper into the facility, fighting their way through the remaining shadow blades. In the heart of the complex, they found the FTL components secured in a heavily fortified lab. But as they prepared to extract the components, a desperate transmission from the UEF fleet in the Arcadia system crackled over their comms. "This is Admiral Graves of the UES Titan. We are under attack by Ivanova's forces. She has a Tzenkethi doomsday weapon, some kind of planet killer. We need immediate assistance." Bryant and his team exchanged a look of horror. They had played right into Ivanova's hands, leaving the fleet vulnerable to her treachery. "We have to get back to Arcadia," Bryant said, his voice tight with urgency. "Sophia, prep the ship for immediate departure." They raced back to the stealth ship, the FTL components secured in a reinforced case. As they blasted away from the facility, the stars streaking past the viewports, Bryant's mind whirled with the implications of Ivanova's betrayal. "She used us," he growled, his fists clenched at his sides. "She knew we would go after the FTL components, leaving the fleet exposed." Simmons shook his head, his face grim. "We have to stop her, Captain, whatever it takes." As they dropped out of warp on the edge of the Arcadia system, the scale of the battle unfolding before them took their breath away. The UEF fleet was in chaos, ships burning and exploding under the onslaught of Ivanova's forces. And at the heart of the carnage, a massive planet-destroying weapon unlike anything they had ever seen, the Apocalypse engine. Sophia's voice crackled over the comms, tight with emotion. "Captain, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it." Bryant frowned, a sense of dread settling in his gut. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "I can take the stealth ship and ram it into the Apocalypse engine," Sophia said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of her words. "The ship's reactor should be enough to destroy the weapon, but it's a one-way trip." Bryant closed his eyes, the weight of Sophia's sacrifice hitting him like a punch to the gut. But he knew she was right. It was their only chance to save the fleet and stop Ivanova. "Do it," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "We'll board Ivanova's flagship and deal with her personally." Sophia nodded, her face set with grim determination. She gripped Bryant's hand, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "For Alex," she whispered. "For the UEF." As Sophia's ship streaked towards the Apocalypse engine, a tiny mote of light against the vast darkness of space, Bryant and his team prepared to board Ivanova's flagship. Their faces were grim, their hearts heavy with the knowledge of what they had to do. But they were the UEF's last hope, the only ones who could stop Ivanova and save humanity from the brink of destruction. The flagship loomed before them, a vast, imposing fortress bristling with weapons. Bryant took a deep breath, his hand tightening on his blaster rifle. "Let's finish this," he said, his voice hard as steel. As Sophia's stealth ship rammed the Apocalypse engine in a massive explosion that lit up the void of space, Bryant, Simmons, Kim, and Talon blasted their way onto the UES Titan's hangar bay. Alarms wailed, and UEF soldiers shouted commands as they scrambled to repel the boarders. Bryant's team moved like a well-oiled machine, taking cover behind crates and returning fire with pinpoint accuracy. "Push forward!" Bryant roared over the din of battle, dropping 2 soldiers with precise shots to the chest. Talon and Kim flanked left, blasters spitting plasma as they cleared a path. Simmons stayed close to Bryant, his sniper rifle cracking as he picked off targets with cold efficiency. They fought their way through the ship's corridors, the Mark 8 armor absorbing the brunt of the incoming fire. UEF soldiers fell before their relentless advance, unaware that they were fighting on the wrong side of history. As they neared the bridge, a voice crackled over the ship's intercom. "Captain Bryant, stand down," Admiral Ivanova commanded, her tone icy. "You're making a grave mistake." Bryant's jaw clenched. "The only mistake was trusting you, Admiral." They breached the bridge doors with explosive charges, storming into the smoky chaos beyond. Ivanova stood at the center of the maelstrom, her combat exoskeleton gleaming under the flickering lights. She moved with inhuman speed and grace, a blur of metal and flesh, as she engaged Bryant's team. Simmons fell first, a plasma bolt punching through his armor and sending him crashing to the deck. Kim dragged him to cover, desperately trying to staunch the bleeding. "Go," Kim shouted, his face grim. "I'll hold them off." Bryant and Talon pressed forward, blasters blazing as they fought their way towards Ivanova. The Admiral's remaining loyal soldiers swarmed around them, but they were outmatched by the skill and determination of Bryant's team. In the heart of the chaos, Bryant and Ivanova clashed, their armored fists slamming together with bone-shattering force. "You've doomed us all, Bryant," Ivanova snarled, her eyes wild. "The UEF's weakness would have been our undoing. The Tsenkethi are the future." Bryant ducked a vicious blow, countering with a strike to Ivanova's midsection. "You're wrong, Admiral. Strength lies in unity, not betrayal." They traded blows, the bridge shuddering under the impact of their titanic struggle. Talon circled the edges of the fight, looking for an opening, a weakness in Ivanova's defenses. "There!" Talon shouted, pointing to a flickering power relay on the back of Ivanova's exoskeleton. "Hit that relay!" Bryant lunged, slamming his fist into the relay with every ounce of strength he possessed. The exoskeleton sparked and shuddered, its systems failing under the impact. Ivanova staggered, her eyes wide with shock and pain. She collapsed to the deck, her armor smoking and sparking. "It's over, Admiral," Bryant panted, standing over her fallen form. "No," Ivanova coughed, blood flecking her lips. "It's only just begun. The Tsenkethi, they've already begun their invasion. Your only hope is the FTL drive. You must strike back." Her eyes closed, unconsciousness claiming her. Bryant turned to Talon, his expression grim. "Rally the fleet. We're taking the fight to the Tsenkethi." As the UEF forces regrouped, Bryant and his team prepared for the final battle. They had the FTL drive, and with it, a chance to catch the Tsenkethi off guard and deal a crippling blow to their invasion plans. The fleet jumped to the Tsenkethi staging point, the newly installed FTL drives propelling them across the galaxy in the blink of an eye. They emerged from the jump, weapons primed and ready, catching the Tsenkethi forces completely by surprise. The battle was joined, the void of space lit up by the flash of weapons fire and the silent explosions of dying ships. Bryant led the charge, the UES Titan spearheading the assault. But the Tsenkethi fought back with savage ferocity, their ships swarming the UEF fleet like angry hornets. Losses mounted on both sides, the battlefield littered with the burning husks of once mighty warships. Amid the chaos, Kim's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, I've got a group of UEF soldiers pinned down by a Tsenkethi ambush. They need backup now." Bryant gritted his teeth, torn between the greater battle and the plight of his comrades. "Go," Talon said, his voice firm. "I'll take command here. Save our people." Bryant nodded, already moving towards the hangar bay. He boarded an assault shuttle, a squad of UEF Marines at his back. They raced towards the surface of the Tsenkethi staging world, weaving through the deadly web of anti-aircraft fire. As they neared the LZ, a plasma bolt slammed into the shuttle's engine, sending it careening towards the ground. Bryant braced for impact, his mind filled with the faces of his fallen comrades. Evans, Sophia, Simmons, he would not let their sacrifices be in vain. The shuttle crashed in a ball of fire and twisted metal. Bryant kicked the damaged hatch open, stumbling out into the smoke-filled battlefield beyond. There, amid the chaos and the carnage, he saw Kim standing tall and defiant against a horde of Tsenkethi warriors. The young private fought like a man possessed, his blaster spitting plasma into the enemy ranks. But there were too many. A plasma bolt caught Kim in the chest, spinning him around. He fell to one knee, his blaster slipping from his fingers. "No!" Bryant roared, charging forward, his own blaster blazing. He reached Kim's side just as a Tsenkethi warrior lunged forward, a crackling energy blade in his claws. Bryant parried the blow, throwing the Tsenkethi back with a savage kick. He knelt by Kim's side, cradling the private's head in his lap. "Hang on, soldier," Bryant whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Help is on the way." But Kim shook his head, a sad smile playing across his blood-flecked lips. "It's too late for me, Captain, but not for them." He gestured weakly to the pinned-down UEF soldiers, still fighting desperately against the Tsenkethi ambush. "Go," Kim said, his voice fading. "Save them, and give the Tsenkethi hell for me." With a final, shuddering breath, Private Daniel Rook Kim, the demolition's prodigy and unsung hero of the UEF, passed from the mortal realm. Bryant closed Kim's eyes, his heart heavy with grief and rage. He stood turning to face the Tsenkethi horde, a lone human against a sea of scales and claws. He charged, a battle cry tearing from his throat, Kim's name on his lips. The Tsenkethi fell before him, their blood staining the scorched earth. Through the smoke and blood, Bryant battled his way to the pinned-down UEF soldiers, rallying them with his unwavering courage. They fought back against the Tsenkethi horde, blasters flashing in the gloom, until the last enemy fell and an eerie silence descended over the battlefield. Bryant gathered the survivors, his face grim as he counted the cost of their victory. Too many good men and women had given their lives this day, but their sacrifice had not been in vain. With the Tsenkethi staging ground in ruins and their invasion plans shattered, the UEF had won a crucial reprieve, but Bryant knew this was only the beginning. The war was far from over, and the road ahead would be long and hard. In the years that followed, now Admiral Bryant led the UEF forces in a relentless campaign against the remnants of the Tsenkethi military. From the shadows of distant moons to the scorched battlefields of contested worlds, he waged a war of skirmishes and covert operations, striking at the enemy wherever they hid. But despite their hard-fought victories, the UEF struggled to maintain its unity in the face of the chaos and destruction left by the war. Factions squabbled and schemed, each seeking to claim power in the new order that was emerging. Through it all, Talon remained at Bryant's side, a steadfast ally and trusted confidant. The young Tsenkethi had proven himself time and again, his keen intellect and insider knowledge of the enemy invaluable to the UEF cause. It was Talon who first uncovered the whispers of a new threat rising from the ashes of the Tsenkethi defeat. A shadowy figure known only as the Oracle was gathering followers and resources, forging a new Tsenkethi war machine in secret. Bryant and Talon worked tirelessly to unravel the mystery of the Oracle, piecing together fragments of intelligence from across the galaxy. What they discovered chilled them to the bone. The Oracle was no Tsenkethi warlord, but a human, a former UEF scientist named Dr. Elena Cruz, long thought killed in a Tsenkethi attack. But she had survived, her brilliant mind twisted by the horrors she had endured. Now driven by a mad vision of humanity's inevitable self-destruction, Dr. Cruz had turned her genius to aiding the Tsenkethi, using her intimate knowledge of UEF technology to create new weapons of terrifying power. Bryant knew they had to act fast. Together with a hand-picked team of elite operatives, he and Talon embarked on a desperate mission to infiltrate Dr. Cruz's hidden base and stop her insane plans before it was too late. They came in hard and fast, their stealth ship slicing through the void like a knife. But Dr. Cruz was waiting for them, her compound a fortress bristling with genetically enhanced Tsenkethi warriors and nightmarish technological terrors of her own design. The battle was joined, a savage close-quarters melee of blades, blasters, and brutality. Bryant and his team fought like demons, their advanced armor and weapons pushed to the limit as they clashed with Dr. Cruz's abominations. Through the chaos and carnage, Talon confronted Dr. Cruz, his blaster leveled at the woman who had once been his sister. The revelation of her true identity hit him like a hammer blow, a lifetime of lies and betrayal crashing down on him in an instant. But there was no time for recriminations or regrets. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and every moment of hesitation was a moment too long. Together, Bryant and Talon fought their way to the heart of the compound, to the inner sanctum where Dr. Cruz waited, her face a mask of madness and hate. The final confrontation was a blur of desperation and destruction, a savage duel amidst the flames and the wreckage of Dr. Cruz's shattered machines. In the end they emerged victorious, Dr. Cruz and her Tsenkethi minions dead at their feet, but the cost had been high, too high. Simmons, the stalwart sniper who had been at Bryant's side since the beginning, lay among the fallen, his armor shattered, his lifeblood mingling with the dirt and the debris. Others, too, had given their lives in the desperate battle. And Talon was a broken man, his spirit shattered by the terrible truths he had learned. His own family, his own flesh and blood, had betrayed him, had betrayed everything he believed in. As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, Bryant and Talon stood amidst the ruins, their faces haggard, their eyes haunted by the horrors they had seen. They had won the day, but at what price? In the silence that followed, they made a solemn vow. They would keep fighting, keep struggling, for as long as it took, for the memory of the fallen, for the future of humanity. They knew the road ahead would be harder than ever, the challenges they faced more daunting than they had ever imagined. But they also knew that they could not falter, could not fail. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there was only war, and they were its champions, its chosen warriors, bound by blood and honor to see it through to the bitter end. So began a new chapter in their story, a tale of sacrifice and sorrow, of courage and comradeship, a tale that would echo through the ages, a shining beacon of hope in a galaxy consumed by darkness and despair. Bryant and Talon, brothers in arms, set forth once more into the unknown, their battle-scarred ship carrying them towards new horizons, new frontiers to explore and conquer. For the UEF, for Earth, for the fallen. The battered UEF stealth ship Ravensclaw streaked through the void, its matte black hull blending seamlessly into the star-speckled darkness of space. Inside the cramped cockpit, Admiral Paul Bryant and his Tsenkethi ally Talon sat in tense silence, their faces illuminated by the eerie glow of the control panels. Bryant's eyes narrowed as he studied the distress signal flickering on the display. Zephyrus Research Outpost Theta. They were studying an alien artifact recovered from some ancient ruins. Talon leaned forward, his reptilian features creased with concern. The signal is weak, distorted. Something is very wrong. Bryant nodded grimly. Agreed, we need to move fast, assemble the team. Minutes later, the Ravensclaw touched down on the barren, wind-scoured surface of Zephyrus. Bryant, Talon, and a hand-picked squad of UEF Special Forces operatives disembarked, their Mark X Raptor armor gleaming in the harsh light of the planet's twin suns. They approached the outpost, weapons at the ready. But as they drew closer, a chill ran down Bryant's spine. The facility was a smoking ruin, its walls blackened and crumbling, its defensive turrets reduced to molten slag. They moved cautiously through the shattered corridors, the acrid stench of burnt metal and charred flesh assaulting their nostrils. Bodies littered the ground, their twisted, mangled forms a testament to the savagery of the attack. Sergeant Kira Nakamura, the team's tech specialist, knelt beside one of the corpses, her face pale. Sir, these wounds. I've never seen anything like them. It's like they were torn apart from the inside out. Bryant's grip tightened on his pulse rifle. Keep moving, we need to find that artifact. They pushed deeper into the facility, the eerie silence broken only by the crunch of their boots on shattered glass and twisted metal. Finally, they reached the central research lab, its reinforced doors blasted off their hinges. Inside they found only devastation. The artifact was gone, and the bodies of the research team lay strewn across the floor, their faces frozen in masks of terror. Talon knelt beside one of the bodies, his eyes widening in shock. Bryant, look at this. These wounds, they were not made by Tsenkethi weapons. Bryant's blood ran cold as he studied the gaping, cauterized holes in the researcher's chest. You're right. This is something new. Something we've never seen before. Nakamura called out from across the room, her voice tight with tension. Sir, I've got something, a residual energy signature. Unlike anything in our databases, I think I can track it. Bryant nodded, his face grim. Do it. We need to find out who did this and why, and we need to get that artifact back before it falls into the wrong hands. They followed the energy trail across the barren wastelands of Zephyrus, the twin suns beating down mercilessly on their armored backs. The trail led them to a deep, jagged canyon, its walls pockmarked with ancient, crumbling ruins. As they approached the canyon's edge, a flicker of movement caught Bryant's eye. He raised his fist, signaling the team to halt. Contact, 11 o'clock, 500 meters. The team dropped to a crouch, pulse rifles snapping up to firing positions. Bryant peered through his rifle's scope, his breath catching in his throat as he caught sight of the enemy. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. Tall, slender figures clad in shimmering, iridescent armor that seemed to bend and warp the very light around them. Their faces were obscured by featureless, mirrored helmets, but their movements were fluid, almost hypnotic in their grace. Folons, Talon whispered, his voice tight with fear. An ancient, powerful race long thought extinct. If they have returned, then all of galactic civilization is in grave danger. Bryant's finger tightened on the trigger. We'll see about that. Open fire. The canyon erupted into chaos as the team unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts at the Vorlon warriors. But to Bryant's horror, the bolts seemed to bend and twist around the aliens, deflected by some unseen force. The Vorlons returned fire, their weapons unleashing searing beams of energy that cut through the UEF team's armor like a hot knife through butter. Soldiers screamed and fell, their bodies disintegrating into clouds of ash and molten metal. Bryant and Talon fought like demons, their weapons spitting plasma as they dodged and weaved through the deadly web of Vorlon fire. But it was a losing battle. One by one, their comrades fell, until only Bryant and Talon remained, battered and bloody but unbowed. As the last of the Vorlons fell, Bryant staggered to Talon's side, his armor smoking and sparking. Talon lay on the ground, a gaping hole in his chest, his lifeblood pooling on the rocky ground. Bryant cradled his friend's head in his lap, tears stinging his eyes. Hold on, Talon, we'll get you out of here, we'll get you help. But Talon shook his head, a sad smile playing across his reptilian features. It's too late for me, Bryant, but there's something you must know. The Vorlons, they're not acting alone. They're working with someone from within the UEF itself. Bryant's eyes widened in shock. What? Who? Talon coughed, a trickle of blood running from the corner of his mouth. I don't know, but whoever it is, they're high up in the chain of command. They've been manipulating events for years, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. The Tsenkethi War, the Vorlon attacks, it's all connected. Bryant's fists clenched, rage and grief warring in his heart. I'll find them, Talon. I'll find them and I'll make them pay for what they've done. Talon nodded, his eyes drifting closed. I know you will, my friend, but be careful. The road ahead, it will be long and hard. You'll face challenges and dangers beyond anything you've ever known, but you must persevere. For the sake of humanity, for the sake of the galaxy, you must not fail. With a final shuddering breath, Talon, the last of the Tsenkethi warriors, passed from the mortal realm. Bryant knelt there, amid the blood and the ash and the ruin, his heart heavy with the weight of his loss. But as he looked out across the barren, war-torn landscape of Zephyrus, he knew that he could not falter. The Vorlons, and whoever was behind them, would pay for what they had done. He would hunt them to the ends of the galaxy, no matter the cost. For the memory of Talon, for the sake of all he had lost, he would not rest until justice was done. Bryant stood, his armor battered and scorched, his eyes hard as flint. He turned to face the setting suns, his pulse rifle clenched tight in his fist. The road ahead would be long and hard, just as Talon had said, But he was ready for it. He was Admiral Paul Bryant, hero of the UEF, and he would not. If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.